So what was your question on braking? What don't you understand?
I was just going to ask you about, you hear people talking about heat cycling, and I was just wondering what your thoughts on heat cycling were, and break-in time on a motor, and how you should run it.
I'm not concerned about the cycling part, I'm concerned about the heat part. Basically, you start the bike up, you run it for about 3 to 5 minutes until you start getting a little heat in the boxes. Not a lot, just enough where you kind of don't want to hold your hand on it no more.
Okay.
About that hot. During that whole time, you're revving up a little bit all the time. You're checking your oil flow, make sure the oil's going back to tank, kind of important. If you have an oil gauge or cylinder light, make sure the heat light goes out. Usually I start the bike up. I don't start the bike up until I see oil pressure, or at least
Right. You just basically pull the plugs and turn it over and wait for the gauge to start showing pressure.
If you have a gauge, yeah.
I do.
So make sure you put the spark plugs into the wires and lay them up on the head so you don't short out your coils.
Say that one more time.
Make sure you take your spark plugs and put them inside the wires and lay them up on your head so the spark has a place to go.
Okay.
Otherwise you burn out your wires or your coil.
Right.
Which is not good. Once you see oil pressure or you get tired of kicking on the damn thing, start the thing up and then you look for a return oil in the tank. If you don't have an 80 light, if you have an 80 light or gauge, make sure you got pressure. If the lifters are knocking like crazy, shut it off. Start up 3 or 4 times in a row for about 5 to 20 seconds at a time until the lifters start to pump up. And hopefully after a minute or so of doing that, the lifters are fully pumped. Then you can run the bike and get to heat the boxes. If it's a mechanical lifter cam, you don't have to worry about that shit. Just start it and run it. They're easier. But like I said, just don't let it idle a lot. Rev it up a little bit. If you rev it up too much and leave it at a high idle too long, the pipes will turn blue on you real quick. So you gotta be careful.
Okay.
By the time you start to see the pipe turn yellow, it's too late, so it'll turn blue while you're in the next 10 seconds right in front of you. Too much heat. So, anyway. So you adjust your carburetor, get all the stuff done, shut the motor off. If you got just a carburetor, go adjust the carburetor, get your oil, get everything buttoned up you need to get done. Then you start up again after a few minutes and do the same thing again. Make sure everything's cycling good, make sure the carburetor adjustment was good that you just did, if you change the jets. Do all that. You do that 2 or 3 times like that, and then make sure everything's running good. A lot of times I'll throw it up on the my old dyno. Basically, I jack up the ass in the bike in the air, and I'll put it in gear and run it through the transmission with the rear brake on, let her load. Do some power runs through it like that, braking the motor real quick like that.
Okay.
Put a load on it before you even ride it.
Right.
Make sure the brakes are working, all that too. While you're doing all that, everything's getting done up. Make sure it all works, so when you go out in the street, you don't have to worry about having issues.
Yeah. Better to find them before you're out there.
Yeah, and basically you do some full power runs. If you watch the videos, you'll see me do that all the time on the bike.
Okay.
If you look at that frame swap video,
yeah.
At the end I did that up on the stand. I had that thing full throttle, full load. I had the brake all the way on at full throttle, and finally drove through the brake. You got the RPM high enough, and drove right through the brake.
Right.
Go up pretty high in ours. Yep, it's working. Because usually a Harley run through the rear brake.
Right.
Just got to get up high enough. You got to get up on a torque peak, though. If you're below the torque peak, it'll kill it. But got to get up there. But anyway, you do that a couple times. Then you take it out and you ride it. And basically you go run the block once or twice, come back, stop. Let it cool off a little bit, do your adjustments, whatever you got to do. Oh, before you go out and ride it, adjust the valves if it's a mechanical lifter cam. After you start up 3 times, it's time to adjust the valves again. If it's a hydraulic, you can just go ahead and keep riding it. But every time you ride it, you just bring it back, stop, let it cool off a little bit. 5-10 minutes, doesn't take much. Let the boxes cool off a little bit, then you take it out and double your distance every time. And you're running it hard. I run them up through the gears, under load, then you decelerate under load with the motor on. You're going to about 2,500 to 3,500 RPM through the RPM range. Mm-hmm. So you're using quarter, half throttle, so you're not turning around. You're loading it pretty hard.
Okay.
So it gets hot quick. So that's why you only go out and double your distance each time. Second time you go out, it's 2 blocks. Come back, it's 4 blocks. Come back, it's 8 blocks. You do that for 5 miles, it's pretty well broken at that point. You're loading it pretty hard. The rear brakes are going to be all cooked in. The rotors start turning yellow on you.
Right.
You're working everything hard.
Right.
But it breaks the rings in pretty quickly. So when the customer gets it, it's pretty well broken in by the time he gets it. So I do that in about 5 miles. So it's hard, but you break it in quick. If you don't want to break it in quite that quick, you can drop the load factor down a little, RPM back a little bit. Do stuff, but don't baby it, don't lug it.
Okay.
Try to stay off the freeway for the first 10 miles, hopefully.
Okay.
Once you get out on the freeway, then you go, whatever the motor wants to cruise at, let it cruise at. If it's 60, it's 60. If it's 80, it's 80. Just the bigger
Just
the
let it
motor, the
low.
more power you got. It's got a sweet spot it wants to be at.
Right.
Sweet spot is just off idle, real no load. That's the sweet spot. The more power you got, the faster the speed is.
Right.
And every mile you want to basically I decelerate, then I whack it wide open, accelerate up to about 5-10 miles faster you're going, then you decelerate back down to about 5 less than what you're going, then you come back up to about where you're at and cruise for the rest of the mile. And you do that for about 10 miles, and that's going to break the motor pretty quick. Also, it's loading it pretty good. And if the motor starts getting pretty hot, shut it off, let it cool off. You don't want to be at normal operating temperature for sure in the first 10 miles. It's best to stay below operating temperature for the first 20 miles if you can. You might have to pull over on the freeway and let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't take much to cool off. The spot temperature on those pistons and inside the motor is very, very hot, even though the outside's cold. So you want to keep the peak temperatures on the inside down. Don't do it at night when it's cold. This cylinder gets really, really hot on the inside. It's cold on the outside. You stick a piston. The front exhaust guide, same thing. It's hot, head's cold. Got all the cold air blowing on. If you got to do it at night, put cardboard in front of the motor. Keep the air off the front of the motor so it stays warm.
Right.
And warm it up before you go out because you don't want to be doing this shit on a cold motor. But you also don't want to be doing that at 90-degree temperature.
Yeah, that's what the next question was. Where I live. Do you think I should probably try to wait till fall to do this? Because obviously,
no, you just got to keep the temperatures within speed. If the motor starts getting hot, pull over.
Okay.
It's not hard.
If
it's
we're
80
walking.
degrees
We're
outside
walking into.
at night, then you do it at night. If it's 80 degrees during the day, then you do it during the day. If it's 70 degrees, you're fine. If it's in the 60s, warm it up before you go out.
Well, it's going to be 100 and stay at 100 even at midnight.
Yeah, well, then you'd be riding at midnight.
Yeah.
Get up at 4 in the morning, do it when it's warm, when it's cooled off.
Coolest part of the day.
Yep.
There's other work that has to happen anyway, so it'll.
Yeah. Anyway, you just break it in a little bit at a time. The thing is, you got to put a load in both directions. Accelerate, decelerate.
Right.
The rings have to be broken in both directions. That's the key. You'll say it doesn't take long. You break it in. At 20 miles you'll feel a difference. At 50 miles you'll feel a difference. About 125 miles you'll feel a difference. I don't feel much past about 125 miles of braking. At 250 miles, I think it's running good, a little bit more, but I'm not sure. I don't feel anything past 5. At 500, it's starting to get worse. By the time I'm done, it's going downhill the other way.
Starting to get some abuse.
Yeah, we've already lost the peakness of the fresh motor by 500 miles. Shit, that's like a year. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't. They're done by then. It's time for rebuild about that time for me. So. But like I said, I ride a little bit harder than most people. But anyway, you'll feel the differences. The key is to get it broken in the first 5 miles. That's the key.
Okay.
I like using the break-in oil. I use that driven break-in oil. It's 1550. Run that for whatever you want to do your oil change, break it in. If you think the motor's broken in 100 miles, dump the oil out, put good oil in after that. I like using that Maxima 25-60 weight or a straight 50 weight on these old motors. And, put that in there. And then after that, if you want to put Tramadon in it or some other synthetic, you can do it on the second oil change, but don't do it before the second oil change.
Right.
I try to get to about 1,000 miles on your next oil change, so whatever you dump it at. So if you dump it at 500, you can go to 1,500. If you dump it at 300-400, change it to 1,000.
Right.
Or if the oil starts looking kind of goofy. If the oil looks dirty, get rid of it. You're not going to get all this metal out unless you dump the oil and get rid of it. So you got to dump the oil. It's the only way to get rid of it. Filter, nice, dump the oil to get rid of it. And that's what you got to do. The biggest thing is get the motor dialed in correctly with the jetting and ignition timing. That should be broken in before it goes off the rack. You should have that stuff dialed in pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
You watch me on the videos break the motors in. I'm revving the hell out of them in neutral. I'm getting the jetting figured out. If it won't take full throttle on neutral, it ain't going to take it out there on the road either. So you got to get it figured out. So it's every time you go out, you're feeling it, listening, you're adjusting things. Every time you ride, you're not just sitting on your ass having fun out there waving at the girls. You're supposed to be braking your motor and paying attention to the motor, getting what it wants. So So by the time you got 5 miles on it, that motor should be getting broken in. The jetting should be good. You should have already had the timing fixed before you even started it. And that doesn't mean put it to where it sounds good. Put it where it's supposed to be. That means figure out where the hell it's at. Don't guess. Know where it's at. So if you don't, you'll burn it up. So, oh well. All right, that's it for this one.
All right, man. Thank you for all your help.
You're gonna send a video of us doing out there, either blowing up or doing burnouts, right?
Of course.
You got the Vegas strip there. You're gonna run down the strip a couple times.
Damn right.
Full throttle. There you go. All right, that's it.
All right. Thanks, guys.